All right. I think by the time people join in, let's have some fun. So I'll put a question on the chat and you can reply to that uh, and be honest about it. So, everybody must have started Excel at some point in time. That's why we are here. So, what was that first thing that made you feel like you nailed Excel? You are a wizard and you're a pro. Dynamic arrays. That's a very good one. For me, dynamic arrays absolutely changed, and I didn't feel like a wizard. I suddenly felt like I've been living under a rock when I discovered dynamic arrays. For me, it was why have I not used it before? So that was the feeling I got when I saw dynamic arrays. I see in the count, 7 people are online. Those who've joined just now, welcome. And please, if you could say hello on the chat, I'll know who it is. And the question that we are answering right now is, what was the first thing you learned in Excel that made you feel like an absolute wizard? So Aditi says it was dynamic arrays and pivot table, and Beth says it was Power Pivot. Power Pivot is absolutely amazing. You're right, Beth. And if you know Power Pivot, I think then that's a massive stepping stone to Power BI. I'm sure you already do, but those who know Pivot find moving into Power BI very easily. Thank you from joining us from US. By the way, I'm doing this live from India, so yeah, it must be early morning for you. Thank you for joining up so soon. We've got more people in. Don't be shy. You can say hello. Hi, Devisha. So, Devisha, what's your answer to that question? The question is, what was the first thing you learned in Excel that made you feel like a wizard? Nivedita, ah, dynamic arrays is like a Patronus charm. Harry Potter fan, I guess. 7:30 a.m. Wonderful. Well, we'll get started in a couple of minutes. I'm just giving a couple of minutes for people to join in. Yeah, and hi Deepti. So Nivedita, I'll tell you one thing, that everything that we do today will be based on dynamic arrays. The name of this session is Modern Excel Formulas, and modern Excel formulas are the ones which are part of Excel 365 offering. These are the ones which leverage the dynamic arrays platform. And while we'll start and we'll look at it, there is one example I'll show you in this session, first with dynamic arrays, and then I will show you how uh, you could do this before dynamic arrays was introduced. And I think if that doesn't show you the power of dynamic arrays, I think nothing else will. Yamini, good evening. Pivot table, yes, absolutely powerful. And I think pivot table gives you the flexibility of not writing any formula yet doing a lot of analysis. Really powerful. I think that's what something even Aditi said and Beth said. A little bit of plus or addition of or enhancement of pivot table, power pivot. Divisha, conditional formatting and interactive dashboards. Yes. Uh, for me, I would have to agree with that. The first time I saw interactive dashboards with all the slicers, I really thought that the person who's prepared this must have done a lot of macros coding, because in 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 my career I started off as a coder, and we used to develop applets like that in Java, and that meant a lot of coding. So I thought, oh my god, you can do so much coding in Excel. And then I said, let me also see, let me also try and learn the VB script for creating such applet. And then I discovered it's ready made. All you have to do is just add it and it's available. So yeah, for me, when I got to do interactive dashboards for the first time, I really felt like a wizard. There were two instances. This one, and the other one was when I could automate report creation. All right, I think we have 5 minutes into the session, and I don't want to keep all those who joined waiting. Thanks for answering this question. Let's get started. I'm going to share my screen, and once it's visible, if you could let me know on the chat, we'll started with today's flow. Same experience for you, Devisha? Very good. Good to know that. And if somebody can throw a reaction or just mention in the chat that my screen is visible, we'll get started. All right. Just to ensure that everything is working smoothly, I've got another machine right now, and I can see it's visible. So let's get started. What we're going to look at is one of the most difficult uh, areas in Excel to master with traditional formulas, which is text processing. Now, there were very simple functions like left, right, substitute, mid, find, length. They were all very good. However, the challenge with the earlier text functions was that you had to use a lot of them together to really get to simple things. So, for instance, extracting the first name, last name, that was not the easiest. And this was one area where Excel struggled quite a bit. People struggled quite a bit. And I think with the 365 release, Excel has made this very simple. So what we're going to look at is we're going to look at three primary functions today: text split, text after, and text before. And I'm not just going to show you the simple usage, but we're going to look at everything that's possible. We're going to look at some difficult scenarios as well. And as I mentioned at the start, I'm going to do a sneak peek into the traditional ways when I show you the power of some of these functions. Now, if you are keen to practice along, I have shared the link of this file in the description of this video, as well as I've pinned it as the first message in the chat. You can download that and you can practice this along. I'm going to make this session available once we have, once we are done with this session. I'm going to make this available as a replay on my channel. So if you want to rather pay attention right now and practice along later, choice is yours. All right. With that said, let's get started with the first one, which is text split. So we have a list of names, and we want to extract the first name and last name. And I'm going to show you the basic use of text split. So I'm going to write the function text split. And there are a lot of parameters. We'll go through each one of them. But for the time being, we will stick with the first two. It says which text, this is the text. And then it says column delimiter. That means how do you want to split your text using what as the delimiter? So we see we have a simple list here: first name, last name. And what we're going to do here is we see that there is a space. So we are going to say our delimiter is space. How do we provide a space? In double quotes, we will just enter space. That's it. And now I get my answer in both these cells. Now, those of you who are familiar, you would notice that there is this blue border. May not be as visible on the screen, but if you're doing this on your system, you will notice that there is this blue border, which means it's a dynamic array. We've written the formula here, and in the formula bar, you'll see it's nice black color that usually we get when we write a formula. And when I go to this cell, the next one where the last name is, you'll see that there is a gray, it's grayed out. And if I double click, there is absolutely nothing. That means this is just a cell where the result has been spilled. You don't write two formulas, you only write once. That's it. So simple, select the text, provide the delimiter, and you get the answer. For the sake of completeness, I'm going to copy, and as you can see, we've got the answers for all the set of names that we have. So that's it. That's how simple text split is. Now, I know some of you in one of the sessions with me have seen how we use left, right, find, minus, trim, everything to get these. It's much simpler this way. Let's move forward, and I'm going to move to the next one. And if you get any questions, and if you want to ask any questions, please feel free to use the chat. As soon as I'm done with my explanation, I will get into responding to your questions. So the next one is an interesting one. Hi, Kanishk. Next one is a very interesting one. We have the same set of names, but we have two differences. One, in the first name, we have a salutation which is Miss, and then on seventh row, we have a Mr. Now, you would notice that I have very consciously kept this Mr. The M in this Mr. as a lowercase because I want to show you something. So let's write this formula. Again, text split. The first part is the same. I'm going to say this is the text. Now I'm going to say column delimiter. Now in the previous example, we had used space as the delimiter, but here I also want to remove the Miss and Mr. because what we are doing is finding out the first name and last name. So that means I need to provide two delimiters here. In fact, three, because there's a Mr. as well. So when I want to provide more than one delimiter, I'm going to provide an array of delimiters. How do you provide arrays in Excel? You use the curly brackets or braces. They're known by these two names, curly brackets or braces. I'm going to open a curly bracket or brace, whatever you prefer. The first delimiter is space because that's what separates the first name and last name, comma. The next one, again in quotes, Miss, MS dot, and a space. All right, because we want to get rid of that space as well. I'm going to close the quotes. And the final one is Mr. Now I'm going to write properly. I'm going to write M as capital, and I'm going to close the quotes, and I'm going to close the brace or curly bracket for the array, and a regular round bracket for the function text split. I get the result, but the first name actually sits in last name and the last name sits outside. This is because this name had this miss. Now I'm just going to copy it for all the cells. The function works properly for all the other cells except Mr. because we have written M as capital when we've written Mr. as one of the delimiters. So now we have two challenges here. There are two things that we need to solve. I don't want to solve these two cells separately. I want to write the formula once and I want to copy it. So let's solve both of them one by one. Okay. I'm just going to clear all these formulas and go to the first one. I'm going to delete the bracket. I'm going to move forward in the formula. It says row delimiter. We will look at that in the next sheet. Comma to ignore it. Then it says ignore empty. I'm going to use this. There are two options. True, ignore empty cells. False, include empty cells. I'm going to select true and see what happens. Now it displays Amy Smith correctly, Amy under first name and Smith under last name. If I'm going to copy this, everything is sorted except this Mr. We selected ignore empty cells. Now, if by applying delimiter, you're getting an empty cell, this helps you decide, this parameter helps you decide whether you want to ignore it or you want to display it. It depends on your use case. Sometimes you would want to display it. In ours, we did not, and that's why we chose true. All right. Now let's address the last one. We need to solve for this Mr. One option is very simple. I can add another delimiter with a lowercase m, but I don't want to overly complicate my formula and really make my formula look difficult to understand by catering to uppercase lowercase errors like these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rely on what the function provides. As I press comma in the function, the next parameter is match mode. And there are two options, case sensitive and case insensitive match. I think most of you would have figured out. I'm going to type 1 to make this match as case insensitive, so that doesn't matter whether m is small, m is capital, r is in lowercase, all that is ignored. I'm going to type 1 and close the bracket. We won't see the result here until we copy the formula to all the other cells. And now even this Mr. with the lowercase m has been removed because we had provided this as one of our delimiters. All right. I hope you're able to follow. If you have any question, please do put it in the chat. Uh, and I see Kritika, Vivek, Ridhima, Debarati, you've joined. Good evening to you as well. If you want to practice along, the file link is in the description as well as in the pinned comment. And I'm going to make this recording available after we've finished today. So if you missed the initial bits, don't worry, you've not missed much. I saw most of you were there when I started this sheet, so you would have in any case caught on. But feel free to see the first 5-7 minutes if you want to later on. All right. I hope you're following along. I'm going to move forward. If there are questions, please do put them in the chat. Sudhir, good to see you too. Thank you. Well, I can't see you, but good to see your message. All right. So far, what we've done is we've looked at splitting text into columns. We saw a simple example where our data was by and large clean and consistent. Then we moved on to a slightly complicated example where our data wasn't consistent. Two names had salutation. One of them wasn't keeping in mind the right case. So there was inconsistency in the style. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at splitting your data not only in columns, because you could do this using the text to column utility. You could do this using the traditional functions like left, right, find, and so on. But you could never split it in the rows and columns at the same time. Let's try this with this text split function. I want you to bring your focus to row 10, and the data that we have is Amy Smith, comma 30. Then we have a semicolon, Ravi Singh, comma 29. Then we have a semicolon, Max Pilling, comma 30, semicolon, and so on. So we have records of multiple people. And what is the data that we have in their records? We have their name and age. So I want the name here, age here, the next name here, the age here. All right. And we're going to do this using text split. So let's write text split. Text, this is our text. All this is in one cell. All right. This is not in multiple cells. Wait, let me just show this to you. If I click here, you'll see in this formula bar, everything is in one cell. It's not in different cells. If I click on cell B10, you'll see the formula bar is empty. All right. So just wanted to bring that clarity. Text split. What's your text? The text in cell A10. The second parameter is column delimiter. So our columns are separated by a comma. So I'm going to, in double quotes, I'm going to put a comma. Then I'm going to the next parameter, which is row delimiter. This is where I tell Excel, you know what? I'm going to split my data in rows. And what is it that is separating a person's record from the next person's record? A semicolon. So I'm going to put a semicolon in quotes and close the bracket. And that's it. Otherwise, this was fairly tedious to do, but I have now been able to do this using a very simple text split function. The beauty of some of these new Excel 365 functions is that they make some of this complex processing so simple that you can't really imagine that this is how powerful Excel is. The challenge is that it is so simple that people sometimes don't realize the value that they bring in. If you were to do this using traditional functions, this would have been a pain. But now look at how simple this is. I've got nothing more to show on this. It is so simple that I'll take you to the next sheet, which is the final sheet we will look at for text split. And this is going to be interesting. We're going to look at the same example, but there is a minor difference. Now, if you've been able to notice, well done. But if you've not been able to notice, don't worry, it's very difficult to spot. For Steve Carey, I don't have the age value. All right, I don't have the age value. So let's see what happens when we write our function. I'm going to say text split. Text column delimiter is again comma, and row delimiter is semicolon. Just like the previous sheet, I get an error here. All right, I get an error here. Now, this error obviously doesn't look nice. I don't have the data, so I can't really do anything about it. I can display this as a blank, or I can say unknown, or I can say to be received. I have some of these options. So I'm just going to go back to my formula. Next parameter is ignore empty. This doesn't apply here. Match mode doesn't apply here. And the last one is pad width. Okay. Now here I can provide an option what to do if there is an error. So I'm just going to say awaited in double quotes. Let's say I'm awaiting this data. That's why it's not here. All right. Close the bracket, and I'm able to sort this out without writing any other formula or the way we used to handle it using if error traditionally. A lot of Excel 365 functions like filter, text split, and we have a few more where we can do error handling within the function. So that's what I'm going to utilize here and display awaited here. If I don't want to display awaited, I want to display this as a blank. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a pair of double quotes with nothing in it, and it will display a blank. And again, all this is a dynamic arrays spill. That's the technical language. If I double click here, there is really nothing. All right. So that's it on text split. I hope this was clear for you. I'm going to move on to text after shortly. And a lot of people have joined in after that. So welcome to all those who've joined later. If you've got any questions, please put them on chat. I'll respond to them as soon as I see, but let's continue with text after. All right. So text after is another very simple function. We're going to look at three usage of text after. After we've seen the second one, I'm going to do a blast from the past where something that we've solved here in text after. I'll show you how we used to solve it using traditional functions. And this is where it should blow your mind, because there is a world of difference in how simple text after makes it. So let's start with a very simple, clean data set. We want to extract the last name. If you followed text split, you would automatically predict what's coming in text after. What's the text? This is the text. What's the delimiter? Space. We want text after the space from what's there in A2. That's it. And I get the last name. As simple as that. No complexity. All right. Shortly, you'll see there is a text before function which can help you get the first name. It'll work exactly like this. You'll provide A2 and you'll provide the delimiter, what comes before. We'll go there in 10 minutes. Let's look at this one. Now, this one is very interesting. We have a few names where we have a simple first name, last name, and then we have few Ravi K. Singh and Max Tony Pilling, where we have a middle name. And this will apply for as many middle names. If you have more than one middle name, it will apply. Let's start with text after. This is the text, and we need to split on the space. First one is pretty standard. If I go to the next, what Excel has done is it's split after the first space and given middle and last name for row number 3 and 4. While if you want to do that, great, you have your solution. But if you only want the last name, then we'll have to do some more work. What I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this formula and I'll use the next parameter. It says instance number, which is the instance of delimiter basis which you want to split. So I'll say 2, because if you have a middle name, the last name is after the second space. Close the bracket, and I get an error because I don't have 2 spaces in the first one, but it works for row 3 and 4 because these do have 2 spaces. This again is not an elegant solution for extracting last name, because I'll have to write multiple formulas, and that's the last thing that you want to do when you're writing formulas. You want to write the first one and then you want to copy. So I'm going to delete all of these and I'm going to show you something which is very interesting. I'm going to reimagine my problem. I'm not saying whether I want to display I want to display the text after the first space or I want to display the text after the second space. I'm going to simplify my solution. I'm going to simplify by saying I want to display the text after the last space, because that's what my last name is. Now this statement takes care of everything, whether you have a first name last name combination, whether you have first name middle name last name combination, whether you have first name middle name 1 middle name 2 middle name n last name, anything that's there after the last space is my last name. So to do that, I'm going to provide instance number as -1. I'm going to say count from the other side, -1. I get Smith in the first name, and as I copy, I get only the last name. So when we have a combination, when we have inconsistency in data, right? First name, first name and middle names and last name, to calculate or to extract the last name, the formula that we've written is so simple. Text after the text, delimiter, and -1 for last occurrence of that delimiter. It's that simple. Now, I've been talking about, I'm going to do a comparison with how this was done in yesteryears, if I can say. I'm going to show you exactly how it was done earlier. This is before dynamic arrays came in. All right. We have all these names and we want to extract the last name. Okay. Now I have created a helper table here because I have to populate this table to extract the last name. Let's start. Now, the logic that I'm going to use is the same. I want to extract all the text which is there after the last space. But there was no function traditionally which will help me go to the last space. So I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to replace the last space with a special character which we won't see in names. For instance, at the rate, that symbol at that you have in your email IDs. And then I'm going to find the position of that at, and then I'm going to find how many characters are there after that, and then I'm going to extract them. So how can I do that? First thing I need to do is calculate the length of these names. So for that I will use a function called len. Okay. I always wonder why did Microsoft not name is at length? Why just len? But that's all right. And I'm going to copy this to all the rows. Amy Smith is of 9 characters, 3 characters for Amy, 5 characters for Smith, and 1 for space. So that makes it 9. Similarly for all the names. Now I'm going to remove all the spaces. Why am I doing that? Because the number of spaces will tell me what is the position of the last space. Amy Smith has 1 space. Last space is the first occurrence of space. Ravi K. Singh has 2 spaces. That means the last space is also the second occurrence. Let's go to this name, 3 spaces. And the third space is the last one. Why are we calculating this? We are calculating this so that we can use a substitute function and replace that occurrence with a special character. So to remove the spaces, I'm going to write a function called substitute. In this text, what is the old text? Space. What is the new text? I'm just going to press double quotes twice with nothing, and I get Amy Smith without the space. If I copy this, I have all these names without the spaces. All right. Now, again, I will use the length function, len rather. This is 8 characters. This is 10 characters. We lose 2 because this had 2 spaces. In this, we lose 3. 24 minus 21 is 3 because this had 3 spaces. All right. So the last space is original length minus the length without the spaces. Now, if this is overwhelming, the good news, remember, I am just showing this to show you how powerful text after is. Because of 365, you don't have to learn this method or you don't have to go through this pain. I had to do this when I had to, when I used to work in for different projects earlier. Now, of course, even I use text after, but I used to base my calculations on this. This is just for comparison. Now I'm going to replace the last space with at symbol. Substitute. What's the text? This is the text. What's the old text? A space. What's the new text? At symbol. What's the instance number? This one. This is the last. So this becomes Amy at Smith, Ravi space K at Singh, Max space Tony at Pilling, and like that. Let's look at this one, Penny space Mary space Joseph at Taylor. Now I have to find the position for at symbol. That is easy. I'll say find text at symbol within this text. So this is where we have the at symbol. Now, if from the total length I delete this, I will get the length of the characters after this, which is the same as the length for the last name. So, sorry, not length. I don't need to write the formula again. This cell minus this cell, and I get the answer as 5. 5 characters in the last name for Smith, Smith. That's correct. 5 in Singh, 7 in Pilling, Pill, that's 4, ing, that's 7. So we've got that right. Now all I have to do is use the right function. In this, I have to find these many characters. I can start replacing this J2 with all these. I can start moving the formula here. That will take another 5 minutes, but I'll spare you the, torture, so to say. That's the amount of work that we had to do just to get the last name. And what do we do now? We write text after, select the text, select the delimiter, which is space, and I'll say -1, whatever is there after the last space, and I get the name. That is the power of text after. All right. A few more have joined in. Muskan, good evening to you too. I'll move on to the last text after demo that I want to do. And after this, we will move to the last function for today, which is text before. So we've got the name, and this time we've got salutations, and we've got all kinds of salutation and one name without the salutation as well. So let's start. We've seen this example with array in text split. So this is the text, and we have so many delimiters. So I'm going to provide curly brackets because I'm going to provide more than one delimiter. First one, of course, is space. Okay, and this time we are extracting the name. So I'm not going to provide space. I'm going to start by saying they're extracting the full name, Amy Smith, Ravi K. Singh. So I'm going to say ms dot space, that's the first delimiter, comma, mr dot space, that's the second delimiter. Then I'm going to say miss space, that's the third delimiter. And I'm going to close the bracket. All right. I get the first name and I get 2 errors. This one, because there is no such delimiter, the delimiters that we provide are miss, Mr. and miss spelled out. So any. Here the Mr. is MR dot with R as capital, whereas what we provided here is R as lowercase. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to edit the formula. Instance number is not what we're looking for. Match mode is what we're looking for. We had seen this in text split, and I'm going to say be case insensitive. Okay. I'm going to copy this formula. This issue is resolved because now it doesn't matter whether the R is capital or R is lowercase, we get the full name. But we still don't get what we have here. All right, because we don't have anything, any delimiter in this name. So the way we are going to solve is I'm going to go here, edit the formula, and I'll look at instance number. Okay, I'm going to say -1, and I'm going to copy it here. That also doesn't work, right? So I'm going to try something completely different here. I'm going to go back and say instance 1, match mode case insensitive, and I'm going to say match end, which is 1. Okay, let's close this bracket and see what happens. This resolves it. Now let's understand what we've done here. When I say match end, it says don't match to end and match to end. Okay, now this is slightly confusing. I sometimes don't find this very intuitive, but what it does is match to end says that if you don't find the delimiter, you return the text as it is. Because we don't have any salutation here, our data is already in its correct form the way we need it. That's why when we say match to end, it will help us get the name itself. So I'm going to select 1. By default, the value is 0. So if I select 1, I get the name as it is. All right. So quick recap on text after. We looked at a simple text after here where we extracted the characters after a particular delimiter. Here our data wasn't consistent, so we used -1 to get the characters after the last occurrence of that delimiter. It solves the challenge whether we have a single name or we have name with multiple. We did a peek from the past where we looked at how complicated it was. We had to do all these steps and then use the right function. And then we looked at removing multiple delimiters together. Okay, so that's what we've done so far. And we are now going to move to our final text function for today, which is text before, which is quite similar to text after, but we are going to look at a few more things here and take this session all the way to closure. Let me see if there is something on chat. I see Karan has joined. Hi, Karan. Karan, if you want to practice along, the worksheet is available as the first comment and also in the description. But if you want to practice later, that's also fine. I'm just letting you know. And there are no other questions. In that case, let's keep moving. Let's look at text before. Now, this time I have written the names in a different format. This is also a popular format, especially in a lot of organizations. This is followed last name, comma, space, first name. And we want to extract the last name. It's by now you would have figured it out. It's text before, give the text, and our delimiter is comma this time because we have comma immediately after the last name. And I get the last name. If I copy, I get the last name for everyone. Basic, very simple, no complexity. Okay, just like text after, just like text split. We've given the text and we've given the delimiter. We'll move forward, text before. Now, what do we want to do here? We want to get the full name. Okay, we have the name of the person, and again, using the same delimiter, we have the function of the person. So I'm going to say text before. I'm going to write the delimiter, exactly the same formula. I've not changed anything. It worked last time, should work now. Oops. It worked exactly like the last time. It stopped after the first delimiter. Now, some of you would have already figured out the solution and would be looking for this instance number. Yeah. So I'm going to say 2 because the data has consistency. So I'm going to say 2 and it gives me text before the second occurrence of the delimiter that we've provided. If I copy this, now I get all the first name, first and last name in that last name comma first name format. I get the full name before the function. Of course, the data is very consistent here, but I can, just like text after, I can delete this 2 and write it as -1, which would mean this delimiter, the last occurrence, everything before that, text before in A2, the delimiter is comma, and everything before the last occurrence of the delimiter, -1. That's another way of writing it. All right. So that's the step 2 of text before. Let me quickly look at chat if there are any questions. A few more people have joined in. Hello, Shantanu. Let's move forward. We have exactly the same data, but we have different delimiters. So let's solve for this. Some of you would have already figured out, what are we going to do here? So let's try this. Text before, and we have multiple delimiters. So we are going to first provide this text, and then in array we are going to provide the delimiters. So the first one is semicolon. You see right after Amy Smith. The next one is colon. The next one is space and then a hyphen. We just can't provide space because otherwise it will pick the space after comma. So I have provided space and hyphen after max spelling. And then Joy Anita, we only have this hyphen here without a space. So I'm going to provide one more. For Steve Carey, the colon is a repeat, so I need not write it again. Close the array, close the bracket, and I get the full name. All right. Very simple. There's no complexity, and I think you would have figured out that there is so much of consistency in all these three functions. If you understand one very well, you understood all three. We've got two more use cases for text before. Let's look at that. Now what we have here is we have exactly the same data. However, here, if you look at it, we have that same delimiter as comma. So we're going to start with, we have exactly the same data where all these, except max spelling, all the other people, they are separated by function using semicolon, whereas this one is separated using comma. So I'm going to say text before, and I'm going to put semicolon in the delimiter. All right. Here I will get the error. Now If I just want to hide the error, I can go right till the end by pressing comma and use if not found, which is similar to pad with, and put two double quotes without anything. It removes the error, but that doesn't help. We still would want to, you know, try and get the name Max Spilling. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and change this. I'm going to use match end. Okay, and I'm going to say one, which is match to end. Remember, we had seen match end in text after, where we said that if you don't find, if you want to display the entire text as it is, you get you use you use match to end. Now I've got this here. All right, I've got this sales here. We of course know how can we remove the sales using the from what we've done earlier. So we can do that handling as it is, but for now it will display the full text. So we can get to this stage and we can apply another text before or text another text before or text spread if we want. All right. Now let's see what we've done here. Now we'll move to the last one, text before. Here we have labels name and then we have function. What we want to do is extract the function here. So we're going to say text before this text, and our delimiter is function colon. All right. In fact, we should say comma space function because we have this comma as well. And I get these errors. All right. Now let's address these errors first. These errors are coming because function we've written here all in lowercase, but we have multiple cases in which function is written. I'm going to say ignore match instance number, match mode. I'm going to make it as case insensitive. And so we've got this. We've removed the errors. And now we just want the name. We don't want the label name. So I'm going to add a text after. Sorry, I text after whatever is the result we are getting. And what we will do is we will say our text is after this delimiter, which is colon space name colon space, and we are going to close the bracket and we get our full name. All right, so that's it. That's how simple it is. Let me look at chat if there are questions. Yes, that's right, Deepthi. That will also work. There's another solution which Deepthi has put for all of you. You can try that as well. So that's how all these text functions work. And if you're interested, I will leave this for you to extract the name from uh, you know this sheet using the traditional methods like we had. This one will not be as complicated, but if you want to just try, you can do that. However, with all these new functions available, I don't think so any of you would have any temptations to try that. All right. So that's what I had planned. Are there any questions? If there are any questions, I'm happy to take those. Otherwise, we will close this session in a couple of minutes. We're just uh, you know, 5 minutes more remaining in this session. Shantanu, you missed the starting. This recording will be available right in the live section. Yes, I will need a few minutes to upload this. I will need a few minutes to process this, but I think in another 15-20 minutes or so, this recording should be available on the channel. You can go at your convenience and see. The link that for the file that I've used is in the description, also pinned to this chat. If you want to download this file right away and keep it with you, you can do that. Otherwise, whenever you are accessing this recording, the description, you can always look at the description for the file. All right. Great. Good that you've downloaded. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm just going to be there online with you all for a minute. If you've got any questions, please do so. Please do ask them right now. Otherwise, in a minute or so, we'll close this session. Thank you, Sudhir. That's great. You downloaded this file, Shantanu. Wonderful. I'm going to be doing more lives, not just not just on Excel topics, but also on Power BI. And you'll keep getting the notifications if you're subscribed to the channel, and whichever ones interest you, please do join. And I'm doing this on YouTube so that in case you want to bring somebody along, in case you have friends or colleagues who are equally keen on learning, feel free to extend the invite. All right. There is a question from Muskan. In column B, if after the solution we need to arrange the names like first name, last name, and then last name, then you can use text split. I'm just wondering if you would be able to do that. You would be able to do that. You would need to use text. You need to use this same function. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. Okay, I'm just copying this as text. I have used the copy on my keyboard, and I'm going to say is equal to text after whatever is the result of this text, and I'm going to say after space. All right, this is what gives me space, the first name. Then I'm going to say and I'm going to add a space, and then I'm going to write text before, and I'm going to paste what we had calculated, and the delimiter will be comma and close the bracket. Maybe I've done some mistake. I didn't put an and here, and I get the Amy Smith. Now, the challenge here is I have used this expression twice. This makes the formula unnecessarily long. I can reduce this by declaring a variable in my formula, which is done using let function. We'll keep that for another live because it takes a little bit of understanding. But Muskan, if you join, remind me. I'm going to show you using exactly this example. How do we use the let function? It's a very interesting one. So maybe one of the lives that we'll do is we'll do it on let plus lambda, which helps you create your own functions. A very, very advanced topic in Excel, but extremely interesting for those who are curious. So that's a live which we will do in the coming few weeks. Cool. Let me look at other questions. In Power BI, do we need to pre-prepare something? Okay, for some of you would now be thinking, what is this? Some of the members who are joining are also my student in university where I teach. You need to install Power BI desktop in your system. Please do that. It's available on the Windows Store. Sudhi, thanks a lot. Thank you. I'm happy your fear of Excel has come down. There's nothing to be worried about. Excel doesn't bite. Beth, thank you. I'm happy that you enjoyed the session, and I do hope you join us next time as well. Oh, sorry, I'm no longer sharing. Wait, let me share and show the solution. My bad. Muskan, I'm going to show this again. Thanks, Beth, for bringing that to my attention. I'm just going to copy paste so that you see from scratch what I've done. So, Muskan, your question was, can I show this as Amy Smith? What I'm going to do is I'm going to double click here and I'm going to copy this part. Okay. I'm going to copy this part and then I'm going to edit this. I'll say text after and whatever is the result, Smith, comma, space, Amy, that is getting generated from this formula, and the delimiter that I'm going to put is space, text comma space Amy. So that space is the delimiter, and close the bracket. So I get Amy here. Now I'm going to again go and edit this formula. Let me edit in the formula bar. I'm going to say ampersand, which is the and symbol or double-sided tape as I call it. Quotation mark, space, quotation mark, because I want to give a space between the first name and the last name. Again an ampersand. And now I'm going to use text before. In the text, I'm going to paste the formula that we had copied. And for delimiter, I'll put comma because what we got was Smith, comma, space Amy. Now the surname or the last name is before the comma. So I've used text before and I'm using comma as the delimiter. Sorry, I pasted it in the wrong function. Towards the end, I'm just going rewriting it. Text before, paste and comma, and I get Amy Smith. So this is what I was saying, Muskan, that now this expression is there twice in the formula. Text before A3 function, oh, this is twice. So we can change this, we can reduce this occurring twice by using the let function, and we'll do a live on let and lambda in the coming weeks. Thank you, Deepti. All right, I don't see any further questions. We are 3 minutes over our planned time, but hope this was useful. And I will make this recording available soon, and I'll see you soon in another live. Thank you for joining. Have a great weekend ahead. Bye bye.